This channel officially has a Discord server. Feel free to join. Link in the description. Hello everyone, this is Tentalk, the podcast about the manga and anime Tenkaichi. And I was originally thinking about, what should I make now that I have my PC back and I can make videos again? What series should I make my next summary on? Obviously, I mostly focus on Record of Ragnarok, but I have Witchy Words for Macho Tyson, and I have Tentalk for Tenkaichi. I realized I hadn't even covered a single match of Tenkaichi while I had covered 4 matches of Macho Tyson. So I'm going to be covering the first round of Tenkaichi. It's going to be Honda versus Miyamoto. I'm going to be covering it, reading it, going over it, telling you my thoughts on it, etc., etc. It starts by saying that the year is 1600 and that this isn't the history you learned in school. That's right, because this history is wrong. It's historical fiction. None of this is true. And we see Honda being reunited with his old weapon, Tanbokiri. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. His introduction is presented as he faced thousands of people, he fought tons of battles, but never got a single scratch on him, which, according to history, is true. Honda fought in a bunch of fights, a bunch of wars, a bunch of battles, and never got injured even once. And everyone's talking about how big the spear is and how crazy the spear is, and Mori, the announcer, the commentator, talks about how his spear is going to come out as a result of Honda's spear, and it shows him with a how do I say this? I'm trying to say this in a PC way. In a very his gentleman's member is at attention very much so. That's the best way I can put it. And presenting from the West, it's Musashi Miyamoto. He's said to have made big waves through the nation by defeating Yoshioka Kenpo. My apologies. And it's Musashi Miyamoto, and of course, Musashi Miyamoto's representative Chosakabe is there, as well as Shinmen Munasai, Miyamoto Musashi's father. And Musashi Miyamoto is sleeping. He's eepy. He's just taking a big old nap. And they're like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he taking a nap? He's just fucking around. What's going on here? And Miyamoto's dad is like, just give him an hour. Give him an hour, he'll wake up. And they're like, an hour? No, we're doing this now. What are you doing? And Honda's like, it's no big deal. I'll just give him a little pokey poke with the spear. And he's like, I'll just kill this fucking guy right now. And so Honda strikes with his spear, but Musashi Miyamoto, like spider sense, kind of just knocks the spear down into the ground, and he's up, and he's just like, bro, you interrupted my dream. I was dreaming, you interrupted me, I do not appreciate it. And Miyamoto, he wakes up, but he's still like, where am I? What's going on? And they're like, dude, you're in a tournament. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's right. And he looks at Honda, he's like, you're the guy that woke me up? And Honda spins his spear one-handed. Everyone's like, oh my god, he's doing that spear one-handed. And Honda's like, next time I won't hold back. And Miyamoto's like, oh, I'm glad that was you holding back, because if that was all you had, then this wouldn't be worth any of my time. And he's holding a wooden sword. A sword made out of wood. And Honda's like, dude, are you serious? You're piquing my interest now. There's no way you can be serious. But then they finally say, go. The match has officially started. Immediately, alarm bells are going off in Miyamoto's head, and so Honda uses his spear, and he swipes, and Miyamoto Musashi dodges, but he does end up cutting Musashi on his arm. And Miyamoto Musashi's like, oh my god, he's so fast! And one of the spectators is like, dude, it's impossible to see Honda's spear when it's coming at you head on. That if Musashi doesn't close the distance, he's pretty much screwed. And Musashi tries to close the distance, but Honda just uses his spear and knocks him down. He is able to block, so he isn't too injured by the spear, but he is knocked on his ass. And Honda attempts to bring the spear down on Musashi Miyamoto, but Musashi Miyamoto dodges, and there's a big crash in the ground, and there's like a miniature explosion. And Honda's like, dude, what are you, a monkey? How are you dodging all this shit? And right now, Musashi is sort of the underdog. Even Musashi's dad was like, "Oh, Honda's better than I thought he would be," and the dude sponsoring, and the dude who Miyamoto is representing is like, "Dude, are you serious right now?" And even Honda's, the guy who Honda's representing is like, "Look, I feel bad for Miyamoto, but look, Honda's gonna win this. No one can escape his spear. The spear is over 20 feet long, and Honda's muscles are so impressive." Like, they're just talking about how, he's unstoppable. Miyamoto tries to close the distance again. He tries to attack it again, but again, he's knocked back, and this time his wood sword takes damage. Okay, I know this sounds just like, I know from this perspective of just listening, it's me going, "Oh, Musashi goes in. Oh, Musashi's not back. Oh, he dodges. Oh, he goes in again. Oh, he dodges." I swear to you that this is a good manga. You have to read this for yourself. If you don't read this for yourself, I'm not going to be able to do it justice. I highly, highly, highly always encourage you to read it yourself before. This is just me getting my thoughts and sort of live reaction to it. I have read this round before, just being completely transparent, but it's been a very long time. So even though I know like the outcome of it, a lot of the small details about how it comes to be those have all completely slipped my mind. So Honda has this thing sort of called the Diamond Deva's Forbidden Zone, that like it's impossible to close the distance on him, because Honda's just that fucking good. Miyamoto's dad sort of explains like, "Oh, it makes sense for Musashi to be flustered because he's never fought a superior foe before. Like, this is his first time fighting someone that's like at his level or even above that level." And Musashi's like, "Oh my god, that spear? I might just die here, actually." But Musashi does sort of a nice move. He flips his sword all stylish like. Honda goes in for a stab and pretty much stabs him, kinda? By all accounts, it looks like he got stabbed, but in reality, Musashi sort of caught the spear with his arm, closes the distance, and for the first time in history, inflicts a wound on Honda, specifically his left shoulder. And it's funny, when the next chapter begins, you see Miyamoto kind of sliding from like the aftermath of his slash. He's sliding on the ground, and they're doing like a little skirt sound effect, like he's drifting or whatever. And everyone's freaking out. They're like, "Oh my god, this is the first time anyone's ever heard him." And but Honda doesn't seem too upset. He's like, "All right, yeah, Brad, I'll like, let's do it. Like, let's actually go at it." And Musashi's like, "Oh, this is awesome." Musashi's still doing his whole, "Yeah, this is great." And and by doing that, Miyamoto, his sword broke. His wooden sword, it's broken. So he's like, "Yo, Dad, hand me a sword." And his dad's like, "This is what you should have done from the start." But Miyamoto's like, "I know, but you know what? Like, let me enjoy this." And then we enter the flashback scene with Musashi Miyamoto as a whiny, crying little baby. And they find a dead swordsman. Him and his dad find a dead swordsman. And for the first time, Musashi Miyamoto stands up. He's walking. He picks up the sword. And his first word is sword. And then he starts to pick it up. And he's about to bring it down, and his dad's like, "Yo, give me that sword, you're just gonna hurt yourself." And and Musashi Miyamoto slashes his dad's arm. And Miyamoto's like, "Yo, this is cool, I like this sword." And he carried a sword pretty much everywhere he went, and by 11 years old, he was besting his dad in combat, and he was going around, he was trying to find people to, like, challenge him, but every single person kind of let him down. Nobody was really a real challenge to Miyamoto. He's like a prodigy. He's gifted in the way of the sword. And, and Miyamoto's dad is, like, yelling, like, "Honda, you have my gratitude. Like, you're actually making my son happy." A beast. has awoken inside Musashi Miyamoto. That's at least the way the translation that I am reading was put into it. And Honda's like, dude, you're thanking me? I'm going to thank you right back, because Musashi Miyamoto isn't the only one that's awakened. I've awakened as well. And so they're both like, dude, let's go. Let's fight. I'm ready. And Oda Nobunaga is probably like some of the impatient people reading this manga. And he's like, dude, can you just fight? Can you just start fighting? I want to see bloodshed. And they're like, yeah, alright, fine. And Musashi Miyamoto charges forward. And Honda uses full throttle on his spear, using a move called Explosive Strike. And that he's faster than before. Miyamoto dodges under Honda's spear, and Honda's like, oh, you want to go under my spear? Have it your way. And he starts to bring the spear down, and it hits Musashi Miyamoto, and is sort of pinning him, not completely to the ground. He's on one leg, but he is being held down by Honda's spear. But it doesn't matter. Miyamoto Musashi's like, dude, if I don't do anything, I'ma die here. And he slices Honda's spear in half. And everyone's like, how the hell did he do that? And while Musashi Miyamoto is going in for the kill and about to bring down the sword, Honda, like a G, just uses his broken spear and puts it against the butt of the handle on Musashi Miyamoto's sword and prevents Musashi Miyamoto from swinging it down. And Honda's like, dude, I still haven't reached my limit. And he decks Miyamoto multiple times, just like putting crevices into his Miyamoto's torso, his ribs, it looks like his lungs, his everything. And Miyamoto Musashi, he's like, are you kidding me? He coughs up blood. Musashi Miyamoto is hit a total of 5 times, but he's still, he kind of stands up. He struggles to stand up, and he's like, Dad, give me your other sword, the shorter one. And now Miyamoto Musashi is dual wielding his swords. Now, Musashi Miyamoto is pretty much almost completely beaten up. Honda has still only taken that injury to his left shoulder. And everyone's looking at Miyamoto like, 2 swords? Dude, that's not how you do this. That's not how this goes. That's not how you use swords like that. You're being crazy. But Honda, he sees it. He sees it with his wisdom and combat aura, I guess, detector. He says this is his strongest form. This is Musashi Miyamoto's strongest form. And he's like, if that's how it is, I know what I want to do. I know what I need to do. And he needs to smash those swords into pieces. And Honda picks up the front end of his cut-off spear. The last end, the part he was holding before, he just kind of chucks it like a javelin. And it hits the wall and just cracks the wall. And he picks up the shorter spear, and he's like, dude, with this shorter spear, I'm faster than I ever was before. And Miyamoto Musashi uses a move called Double Heaven Dragon Drop, and he sort of forms an X and uses it to catch the spear and put it to the ground using his swords. And Miyamoto's like, dude, if I didn't have both of these swords, I'd probably be dead right now. And Musashi Miyamoto is like, dude, old man, you gotta be careful. I'm not using like a wood sword anymore. This is the real deal. And he uses a move called Single Heaven Dragon Drive Back, which, awesome name. This series, as well as Majo, probably has some of the greatest attack move names. So I am a big fan of that. And he swipes at Honda and cuts his chest open. Not too deep, like you don't see like the heart and the lungs and all the vital parts, but it's definitely a deep gash and blood comes spurting out. And in theory, this should have slowed down Honda or even just completely stopped him. But Honda is right up in Musashi Miyamoto's face, and he's like, "No, I told you, I'm really him, and you're one hell of an opponent." But he's not done. And the guy that Honda is representing is like, "Dude, how the hell is he doing all this?" And then a guy, kind of got like a short beard. He's sitting on a roof with the statue of a fish behind him. I don't know. Is that a fish? Is it a bird? It looks like a fish bird kind of thing. He's sitting on the roof, and he's wearing dark robes, and he's like, huh, who is this Musashi kid? And the guy who Honda's representing is like, I know who you are, and he cuts him off, and he's like, I'm Hattori Hanzo! Another competitor. We see him. He is revealed. Now, Hattori Hanzo points out something really interesting. He points out that with every hit, Miyamoto Musashi gets stronger. But the problem with Honda is that he's too strong. He's never had to go all out before against an opponent, so his body isn't used to this. So we go into Honda's backstory. Basically, Honda, the guy who Honda is representing, he's losing a battle, and Honda is kind of just doing the only positive thing right now. The guy is receiving bad news after bad news, but Honda is going through, and he is changing the landscape of the battle. On the opposite side, there is a guy named Magara Naotaka, and he wields a 72-inch sword, and he's messing everything up. And there's one guy coming straight at him, a lone rider on horseback, and it's Honda. And Naotaka's like, dude, you must be an idiot to ride alone into an army of 10,000 people. And Honda is just like, dude, I'm dedicating my life to a Tokugawa victory. And Honda swings his spear, shattering Naotaka's sword. And, I mean, at this point, he hits Naotaka, and he sends Naotaka flying. Like, he is launched off the back of his horse just into, like, the stratosphere or wherever the hell. And we flash back to sort of the modern day, and Honda is back in the form he was in the flashback, where he literally, steam is coming off of his body. It's called Rock Hard Brilliant Body, which, in Japanese probably sounds cool. When translated to English, it sounds kind of, you know what I mean? But they are both at their peak, and they're like, this fight's about to reach its climax, which, odd choice of wording after saying the Rock Hard Brilliant Body, but it is what it is. And Honda's like, look, kid, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I gotta end this. And it seems that he's gotten even faster, and he throws his spear a bunch of times, but Miyamoto Musashi, he keeps on dodging. He keeps on doing his best, at least, but he does get cut up a bunch. And Musashi Miyamoto's like, dude, whenever he tries to get close to him, he just throws me off again. And Miyamoto looks down for a bit, like, god damn, this dude's tough. And he looks up, and Honda is above him, bringing down the spear. Like, you never look down when you're in a battle. And Musashi Miyamoto, he puts both of his swords up to dodge and block against the spear. But Miyamoto sees an opening. Just for a split second, he swings his sword, and then he's like, dude, where did Honda go? Because it seems like Honda vanished. Dude, Honda just leaned back and ducked, and then he uses his spear to, like, right in the ribs, crack Musashi Miyamoto and send him flying. And it hits Miyamoto so hard that a piece of his rib and his flesh gets launched off and sent and is caught by Miyamoto Musashi's dad. Just like he caught a piece of his son's rib and flesh. And now it seems pretty much over, and Honda's like, look, kid, you surrender now, I'll spare your life. Like, you got a lot of promise, he doesn't have to kill him. And Miyamoto's like, dude, are you telling me to surrender? Is that a joke? And he's like, you might have the upper hand now, and you're right. If I live here, I'll only grow stronger and become a better warrior. But he says that he doesn't run away. He stands up to his fights at the very end. And anyone who isn't willing to put his life on the line doesn't deserve to call himself the best. And Honda's like, bro, you got some nerve. I'm going to send you to the underworld. It's just happening. Honda readies himself to finish the fight, and Oda is like, I can smell death in the air. So they know the end of the fight, it's coming. and a feather falls off of a bird and is landing right next to Musashi Miyamoto's face. And it is used to explain that they're using the visual of the feather to explain that Miyamoto is launching himself using gravity. He gets into a position that they compare to a modern day track and field runner, and they said it was the fastest step ever seen in the history of mankind, and he launches at Honda, and Honda's like, not only is he fast, but he's folded up to be a smaller target. But Honda's not phased. He's like, dude, even birds cannot dodge a shot from the spear. But then it's revealed that Musashi Miyamoto, like, this is his plan. He wanted Honda to strike at him at a low angle, so Musashi Miyamoto jumps in the air to dodge the spear, and he's like, this is the last blow I can deliver. That he's going to win. And Honda, shockingly, he pulls this spear back and raises it up with just a flick of the wrist, which is how they described it. Which reminds me of that song back when I was in high school. Look at the flick of the wrist. Look at the flick of the wrist. But yeah, he does that, and the Deva King could see the battle conclusion in his mind, and they're both yelling, and you see Oda just chuckling, and then you see a splash of blood. Honda's plan, it's revealed, was to sacrifice his left arm in order to use his right arm in order to stab Miyamoto Musashi in the heart, finishing the fight. But Honda thinks, this isn't the only fight I gotta do. I gotta fight multiple times, so I can't sacrifice my left arm just to win this one fight. Like, he has that's not gonna cut it. That idea isn't going to cut it. What Musashi Miyamoto does is he cuts Honda's spear at the precise moment, breaking it off, and Miyamoto does the whole yelling. He's like, Deva King, and then Honda's like, Musashi, and then there's like the slash, and then there is a big pause, and one of Miyamoto's swords breaks, and Musashi Miyamoto is standing up at the end with Honda on his knees, just blood pouring out of it. And Miyamoto's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, if you had sacrificed your left arm, you would have won this match. But Honda was like, yeah, he would have been able to beat Miyamoto, but he wouldn't have been able to win the tournament with only one arm. Like, he's like, if he can't win the entire tournament, then there's no point to it. And Honda tells Tokugawa, like, hey, I'm sorry I lost. I'm sorry I couldn't do it. And Tokugawa charges forward, and he's like, dude, no, it's okay. Like, let me be with you. And Oda is like, no, there's not going to be any of this mushy-gushy shit in my fucking death tournament. And so he pulls out a firing squad. A whole bunch of people come in, and they point guns at Tokugawa, and he's like, that's my samurai. It's my duty as his lord to be with him in his final moments. No one can stop me from standing at his side. And Oda Nobunaga's like, dude, fire. Kill this fucking guy. And the soldiers fire. But just before they fire, Honda stands in front of Tokugawa and takes all of the bullets for him. And he's like, dude, I appreciate everything you've done for me. This is Honda saying this. Dude, I appreciate everything you've done for me, Tokugawa. But in a world where I can't fight in war, like, that's not a life, that's not a world for me. Like, he tried to live a peaceful life, but he couldn't thrive in it. And he says that he was so happy that Tokugawa picked the fight for him, and that he has fulfilled his final mission. And at the end of the day, Honda, despite, being covered in bullet wounds and pretty much dead, picks up Tokugawa, and he's like, dude, it was a pleasure to fight for you. And he fucking collapses and dies. And that is the end of round 1. Let me tell you, this round was great. It was great. As soon as I had finished this round, I was like, okay, this manga is something special. This has potential to be one of the best tournament mangas if the other fights manage to keep up this incredible storytelling and action, and it delivered in all of those categories. I do wish, this is just me being a picky bitch, that it was a bit more historically accurate, but again, that's me. It's historical fiction. I can live with it at the end of the day. This was incredible. You saw the motivations of each character. All the characters were likable. There were moments where you're like, man, I don't know who's going to win. I love the idea of Miyamoto being the underdog, yet at the same time, you are rooting for Honda because he just seems like a good dude, At the end of the day, I can't express how happy I am with this first round. It was incredible. This manga really is something great. What I really liked about the backstories of this fight was that I thought they were the perfect length for this fight. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. It showed the motivations for all the characters and their backstory. Just enough for us to understand them as characters completely, but it didn't feel like it was something that clogged up the fight. It didn't feel like it was a big, we're going to be doing this for the next who knows how long until we continue the fight. No, it was nice. It was precise, straight to the point. I loved it. I loved that. I'm basically, I'm a big fan of this fight. I think it's really, really good. Spoilers, I think the next fight is better. Just in my opinion. I've already read it before, and I'm like, and that's not to say this round wasn't good. This round was good. It was a great way to start off the series, but I know it's only going to get better. What did you guys think of this round? I thought it was incredible. Please let me know what you think in the comments below.